That's got to be it, right? Yeah. All right. Only 3.3% of people have done this. We did it. All right, first things first. The bottom center of the screen says that we've beaten 103 games this year. And 425 since we started doing this in 2020. Those numbers are now falsehoods. We've now beaten 104 games in 2023 and 426 since we started doing this in 2020. All right. So, let's see. Where do we start? This game reminds me of a lot of games that I have played since I started doing this that I hadn't really played many of before I started doing this, and certainly probably hadn't beaten any before I started doing this, and that is short indie experiences, 3 to 6 hours, that only really focus on one thing and just try really hard to do that one thing well. And I think this is a good example of how to do that correctly. This game was all about the climbing mechanics. That was it. And because of that, it was a little bit more complicated than something you'd see in Uncharted or Horizon or Tomb Raider or whatever, name the climbing game. It had a little bit more intricacy to how the controls were, because that's really the only level of complexity you're going to be able to add to the game is in that mechanic. And, I think they did a good job of making it a little bit more complex without making it too complicated. It wasn't like Death Stranding traversal complicated, but it was a step up from just holding down a single button and moving in the direction you wanted to move. It was a little bit more complicated than that. And I think that it was very well done. The story, unfortunately for me, I missed out on mostly because it seems like the story was mostly delivered through written lore, and I just wasn't reading most of the lore after the first chapter. So, but I got the basics. I got the basics enough to understand that what happened at the end. Like, I understand what was happening and why it was significant and all that stuff. And I'll keep the spoilers out of it, but I got it basically. It may have lacked some emotional significance that it would have had otherwise for me, but let's be honest, it probably wasn't going to have much of that for me anyway. So, it's definitely one of those games where the story is not the focus. It's very sparse on the story. You don't have like a big like backstory history for your character or anything like that. It's just, this is a situation, this is what you got to do, start moving. I think that's fine. I think it served the game well to have that be pretty sparse. Technically it looked good. It was, obviously not trying to look photorealistic, but it had a character to it that's very similar in, scope or in style to what I've seen in things like Journey and things like that. So I really don't have a lot to say beyond that as far as the music was good. I don't have a lot to say beyond that because it was fairly simple as far as like what's good about it, and I really don't have anything bad to say about it because it did exactly what it set out to do, and so I'm not going to fault it because it doesn't have RPG mechanics in it, and I don't miss that in this kind of game. I recognize what I was probably signing up for this, and it's not a super complicated game. And it's good that they didn't try and throw some garbage like that in there. I don't really have anything negative to say because this is a very simple experience that I completed in an afternoon that I'm glad I played, and it's gonna end up feeling like a lot of games that I've played over the years that were these short indie experiences. Games like Abzu Games like Bound. There's some games that I've played over the years that, because they started with A or B back when I was doing alphabetical things, or because they just happened to pop up on Game Pass, I'm like, okay, well, let's play it, and then ended up, enjoying it, but it's not like it's going to be my favorite game ever. It's very good at what it does. Now, it's not going to be something that's as good as like something like Cocoon, because Cocoon is the same kind of game. It's a short experience. It's all about one thing, one mechanic, and just exploring that. And that game was kind of a masterpiece. So, when I think about where I'm going to rank a game like this, I think about the best I've seen of that, which is like Cocoon, is one of the best I've seen of that kind of thing. And I think of the worst of it, which is like Fort Solace. I didn't like that game very much. Games like AER Memories of Old. There's more like that. I played a lot of games that are like that are just these short experiences. And I could come up with more if I'm looking at my list right now. But why bother? You get the idea. I mean, I'm dragging it out already. I really have nothing else. It's very good at what it did, which was very simple, straightforward, and not too long. And I enjoyed it. It's not going to rank in the top 100, but it's probably not going to rank in the bottom 50 either. It'll be, one of those games that I'm glad I played for the time that for the amount of time that I invested in it. It was absolutely worth it. This is definitely a game that would not work if it was 15 hours long. Not the same way. So for a 4-hour experience, yeah, hell yeah. I'm glad I played it. I enjoyed it. All right. Last order of business. Jusant. It's been fun. But we are now going to... Oh. Did I hit the wrong button? No, I don't want to start a new game. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for allowing us to play you, Jusant, but we are now going to uninstall you from the console and never play you again. Bye! Bye!